Welcome back to another episode of Love It There.
Today's episode is going to be on Carmel, Indiana, as you saw by the episode title. This is where Hallie and I grew up. This is our hometown, and we were just both there this past weekend. So we thought how fitting to do our episode this week on Carmel. We were there because Hallie ran the Carmel Marathon. So, first
Woo!
ever marathon. Hallie, are you thriving or surviving?
I'm surviving right now. I've been pretty low on energy the past couple days, but it was like a great experience. I thought it was really fun. Didn't do how I wanted to do, so now I'm just motivated to do another one down
It
the
was your
road.
first one. I think anything finishing it is more than
Oh
like
yeah, no, I'm like fine with
that's
it. Like I
amazing.
don't
Yeah, I'm
care,
so impressed.
but I'm like I know I can do better. So maybe if it's in the cards, I'll do another one soon, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
No, I had so much fun. Mom, Dad, and I were driving all around Carmel cheering for Hallie and her boyfriend Pearson, which the podcast knows Pearson now. So
Yeah.
he did it as well. They killed it. We had so much fun cheering. It was a blast. We had a little tour day Carmel. The
Yeah.
marathon obviously goes all over the city, and so it was just kind of refreshing our memories on how great Carmel is. And there was a lot of people that came into town for the marathon from out of state and from very far away. And
And out of
so many
country.
people, yeah, and so many people were like, oh my gosh, this town is so cute.
Yeah, which I thought was funny. I don't know. It's one of those things that it's like when you grow up somewhere, you take it for granted and you don't really notice the things that like people that aren't from there will come in and notice. It's more than just our hometown. It's regularly rated actually as somehow one of the best places to live in America, despite it being in the middle of Indiana. But we'll cover what makes it so great. And there was also a viral Carmel High School TikTok that we'll talk about today, and also just kind of the pros and cons of growing up there.
Enjoy today's episode on Carmel, Indiana. Okay, so like Hallie mentioned, Carmel has actually been rated one of the best places to live in the United States. In 2024, so this year, it was rated as the #1 best suburb to live in America and the #2 best place in general to live in America. And it's only behind Colonial Village, which is a small town in Arlington, Virginia. So besides that, it's the best place to live, which is just wild. It's crazy that we grew up there and now it's becoming more well known across the country just for being such like a cute little town.
Yeah, well, and we'll talk about this later in the episode, but the town that we grew up in is like not the town that it is now. It is changing so quickly, and it has changed so much even from like when I left to go to college. So within the past 4 years, like every time I come home, there's something new, something that they've built. Like they're always bringing new things to the city. So it is like interesting to see how the reputation changes and just how different it is from even like when we were kids.
Yeah, we'll talk about this a little bit more, but the reputation of Carmel used to revolve a lot around Carmel High School. There's one high school for the whole town, and it has a history of excellence academically, athletically. It's a big school. And so other high schools in the area had a lot of hate towards Carmel. But now a lot of those same people that we grew up with who went to other schools who hated on Carmel now want to live here and just love Carmel. So it's just funny and interesting because it used to just be Carmel High School, and now it has so much else that it can offer. And so we'll kind of talk about that. But I did an Instagram poll on my on my personal story because I have a lot of people that I grew up with or that live in Carmel now. And so I wanted to get a lot of opinions on why people like Carmel, what their thoughts are on it. And Hallie mentioned, it's changed so much since we were kids. And that was one thing that somebody said was that it's a city of constant expansion. There's new restaurants going in all the time. And it's cool to be a part of a city or to live in a city that is thriving and always looking at how to improve itself and
So true, yeah.
take something the next step and offer something else new. But the number one thing that people said, what in response to why do you like Carmel, what do you think about Carmel, is that safety. It's like the safest place they've ever been. You feel safe letting your kids go, like run around. People said it's the best place by far to raise a family because of the safety, but also, like we mentioned, the school system. So those were big things about Carmel. And we'll kind of go into all of these in a little bit more detail in the episode today. But roundabouts, if you know Carmel, you should know Carmel is the roundabout capital of the United States. Not of the world yet, but
We'll probably get there eventually.
I'm obsessed with roundabouts. That's one thing I miss so much having moved to Michigan. Michigan has their Michigan left situation, and I despise it.
Yeah.
We'll have a whole little, we'll get on our soapbox about roundabouts later in this episode. But that just goes into how Carmel as a city is very intentionally planned and efficient.
To give like more of a basic overview of the town, if you're completely unfamiliar with it, I know like a lot of our family and friends are going to be listening, so like obviously they'll know this, but I think the population is like a little over 100,000 right now in Carmel. So it's like we say it's a town, but like it's like bigger than a town. Like it's
Right.
pretty big, and it's very spread out. So like I don't know the square mileage, but it's very wide, but you're still able to get from like one end of town to the other within like 20 minutes because of
Mm-hmm.
roundabouts. And like if all those intersections were stoplights, it would probably take like it would have to take like at least 35, like probably like double the amount of time though.
There are less than 8 stoplights remaining in the city of Carmel. They're like, if you think we were being annoying about, no, I mean, there's so many roundabouts. That's why learning to drive in Carmel, people have to drive out of Carmel to learn how to do like left
Four-way
turn
stops.
stoplights, yeah, four-way
Yeah.
stops, things like that. So, but anyways, it's the answer to everything. We'll get more into that later. So that was another thing that people liked about Carmel. And then few other things were the sports opportunities, the competition in Carmel and in neighboring cities and towns. Great opportunities there. And then the public library, which that's another thing that might be a little
Love
bit
of my
weird that,
life.
yeah, we will geek out on, but that is one of our favorite things of the city. And also all of the parks and the Monon Trail, which is a big part of Carmel. So it's this really long paved path that we will definitely get into later on in the episode. So these are kind of the things that people love about Carmel now, but honestly, Carmel didn't really, a lot of these things didn't come to be until recently. Carmel didn't become what it is today until like starting in the 2000s, but really even especially in the past like 5 years.
Right.
So pre 2000s, like I said, Carmel Clay Schools, that's the school district in Carmel. That is what attracted people to the city of Carmel, specifically the high school, but just the school district in general, plus the safety and the closeness to Indianapolis. So Carmel's the suburb that's just north of Indianapolis. So Indy was like the city with the restaurants and the sports venues and the concerts and things like that. And then Carmel was basically just schools and homes. There was like
Yeah.
nothing else. So, like I mentioned, there's only one high school for the entire city. And even though the student population increases every single year, the class or the student body size gets bigger and bigger. The school district said they'll never add another high school to the city because of the long-standing tradition that Carmel High School has. And it's like something out of a movie. Carmel High School is so hard to
We're like
describe.
trying to romanticize it. It's like it really is just a high school, but
No,
I don't
but
know.
just, I mean, there's a reason why these TikToks went viral talking about everything that is in this high school. I mean, it's
Right.
wild. It is
Right.
wild.
No, I will fully agree that it's like out of the ordinary for a public school for sure.
Yes.
Like the amount of resources that we were given, and like it's ridiculous to compare. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm not like, I feel like most people, I don't know, we're gonna be like bragging about Carmel a lot because I mean, we didn't rate it the number one city to live in America. I don't know, other people rated it.
Niche.com did.
Yeah. So it has a lot to offer, and this isn't coming from a biased perspective. Honestly, it took leaving and coming back and then seeing all these people, like I feel like we kind of took it for granted. We were just like,
Oh, for
this is
sure.
just where we grew up, whatever. And it's taken
Because you
us
don't
to
know
step
any
away,
different. Yeah.
right, and come back, and all these other people are like, oh my gosh, this place is amazing. And you step back and you realize, wow, it really is. And I didn't realize that this was abnormal.
Yeah.
So yeah, but so we'll talk more about the high school in a little bit. But yeah, so pre 2000s, there was not much else other than homes in the school.
So yeah, like Kelsey said, early 2000s is kind of when Carmel started to slowly develop, and it just like keeps continuing to expand. So to give you a little picture of how much it's grown in the past few years, in 1995, when Kelsey was born, the population in Carmel was 27,000. So like small town. When
Mm-hmm.
I was born in 2001, the population was around 37,000. And now, currently in 2024, the population is 104,000. So starting in 2000, it skyrocketed. And I'm curious, like, what the trigger was for that. Because it's like at that point, there still wasn't that much in Carmel. So I don't know if, like, there was, like, opening of a new like job plant or something where like a lot of people were moving into Indy at that time. Like I have no idea, but
Well, I think it was just they slowly started to add more and more things to the city that made it worth living there, other than just having a good school districts. Like,
yeah.
we'll go through some of the big additions to the city that they created between the year 2000 and present day that I think really helped contribute to the population growth.
Yeah. So the first thing that kind of got added to the town was in 2002, the Monon Trail was built. That's what Kelsey mentioned earlier. It's basically, well, in 1999, it was a 10-mile stretch in Indianapolis. And then in 2002, it got expanded to Carmel, and it keeps continuing to expand. So it's now 27.1 miles long. And it stretches all the way from the town north of Carmel all the way to downtown Indianapolis. And it used to be a railroad. So it's like a
Mm-hmm.
greenway. So it's super flat, super nice, great for biking and walking and running. And basically, it just creates this atmosphere in the downtown area of Carmel that is like centered around exercising and being
Mm-hmm.
outdoors and just like getting outside and being active, which I love because it's right in the center of the town. So there's all the restaurants are around it. There's like so much happening. And it's great. Like if you have kids, like there's parks over there. It's just like a very, I don't even know.
There's
Like
like
it's
lining
just
the
a
side
path,
of the
but
But yeah, but I miss the Monon so much. It's such knowing that you have a good bike path, running path. We did so many of our high school cross country workouts on there, or just going for a walk on the weekend with your family or friends or whatever. But yeah, lining the path now, they have like splash pads, and they have
playgrounds and
yeah, like little
ping
yard games.
pong,
Yeah.
bocce ball, shuffleboard, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just
Just
very family friendly.
And then it also connects Carmel to Indianapolis, or there's little town like a Broad Ripple is another town that's between Indianapolis and Carmel, and so it allows people to bike from town to town that you didn't have that opportunity before. So it's made it more biker friendly. But yeah, I love that it's, even though the one thing that Carmel is lacking would be like mountains, body of water, like hiking
Right.
trails, we at
Right.
least have this paved path that creates that atmosphere of exercise and fitness. You walk around downtown Carmel on the weekend, everybody's in their athleisure. And I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, same.
And then the next thing they kind of added was the city of Carmel added was in 2004, they created Clay Terrace, which is this outdoor shopping center. Before 2004, Carmel did not have a mall at all. Like I said, it was just houses and schools. So you had to go into Indianapolis to go to the mall. So this outdoor shopping center was huge. It also has like obviously restaurants. There's a dog park there. They do little outdoor small concerts, like very small concerts there in the summer. So that was a big draw, something that Carmel really needed at that point.
In 2007, something called the Monon Center opened. So it's as you could guess, right along the Monon Trail. Basically, it's just a huge fitness and community center. There's a 3.5-acre water park, lots of trails around it, and along with the Monon Center, there's also 20 other parks and greenways throughout the city of Carmel. So yes, there's no mountains, there's no lakes, there's none of that outdoorsy activity that you would maybe get in a coastal town or somewhere like Colorado or whatever, but the city does try to do a good job of making it outdoorsy enough.
Mm-hmm. And then in 2011, they added to like the performing arts scene. So they created the Center of Performing Arts, which is right smack dab in the middle of downtown Carmel. It's a 3-venue world-class performing arts center. So it's made up of a building called the Palladium, which is bigger and has more like regular concerts or like orchestra performances, things like that. And then there's Tarkington Theater and Studio Theater, which are more for like plays and productions and things like that. So again, prior to 2011, I mean, that's pretty recent. Prior to 2011, there was nowhere really for like performing arts musical scene in Carmel.
Right.
And then right where this Center of Performing Arts is, there's a big open grassy area. And this is, again, right off the Monon Trail that we've talked about. That's where they have the farmers market every Saturday. So the Carmel Farmers Market has existed since 1998, but now it is this huge ordeal since that Palladium and that Performing Arts Center was created. That's where the farmers market is now. And there's over 70 vendors there each week. I think I saw something like 110,000 people come every summer to this farmers market.
That's crazy.
Every Saturday from May to September. It's this huge ordeal. And like we said, it's on the weekends. It's right off the Monon Trail. So people just walk there or ride their bikes there, go to the farmers market. It's just such a fun little like healthy Saturday activity. You ride your bike to the farmers market, you get your fresh produce, and then you go on your way. It's
right.
so fun. They have live music there. It's just a fun little event. We love it. Whenever Hallie and I are home on the weekends
we
in
make
Carmel,
sure to
we
go.
try to, we'll like go for a run on the Monon and then we end it at the farmers market.
That is like the ideal Saturday morning for me.
It's a perfect Carmel Saturday.
Speaking of the same little area where the farmers market is, when it is wintertime, obviously the farmers market isn't happening in the winter, but it gets transformed into a little holiday market. So in 2017, the Christkindl Market opened for the first time, and it actually is the winner of USA Today's Best Holiday Market from 2019 to 2023. So you may have heard of Christkindl markets. There's a really big one in Chicago. There's obviously, they originated in Germany, so they're like a big thing in Europe. But even Carmel's little Christkindl market beat out Chicago's. So you may be thinking like, okay, how great can it be in Indiana? Like whatever, what's going on there? But it got rated better than Chicago's, so I have to give them some credit.
It's so cute.
It is so cute.
The
like
perfect little winter activity.
Yes, it looks like you're at a Hallmark movie. And that's like what everybody says. There's an ice skating rink, there's German inspired food booths and drinks and little gifts. One of my personal favorites was the mulled wine, which is like a very authentic German thing. There's German sausages, apple strudel, handmade German gifts, nutcrackers, glass ornaments, perfect little trinkets for Christmas gifts. In 2022, over 450,000 people came to this Christmas market, which just like is insane to me. But I honestly believe it because this past winter, I feel like every day, like on my Instagram story, was like people at Christkindl Market that like aren't even from Indiana that like come to this market. So
because it opened in 2017, but then shortly thereafter, before word really got out about it, it was only open for a couple years before COVID hit, and then it was closed for a couple years. And so now I feel like word is finally, it's getting traction, starting to get out. That stat of 450,000 people visited in 2022, I'm sure last year had even more. I imagine the growth is going to be exponential, especially since it's been rated the top holiday market. I mean, people travel for those. So, yeah, crazy. So fun. So that's definitely, if you're that, I mean, that's again, this is why Carmel has become a tourist attraction. It's for things like that. And then, okay, in 2018 was when we had three things that are notable places to go in Carmel now. One is Indie Coffee Roasters, which is a coffee shop. One is,
Love it.
yes, we love it. One is 3 Up, which is a rooftop bar, and one is Sun King, which is a brewery. Now, this is 2018 that these three places opened. Tell me how Carmel did not have a trendy, notable coffee shop before 2018, and
Yeah.
it did not have a cool, trendy bar or brewery until 2018. So this is what we're talking about. I mean, by this time, well, Hallie, you were still in high school, or you were just graduating high school, right? In 2018?
No, I
Or no, no, no.
graduated in
Yeah,
2020.
you graduated in 2020. Okay, so yeah, so but Hallie was basically out of high school before, you know, I was in college at this point, graduating
Yeah.
college almost, and there was still they had just opened a coffee shop and a trendy bar in Carmel, which is just, it's just wild. But the thought process behind this was basically all Carmel was still so family friendly, and they would, all these young children would grow up and then they'd move out of Carmel, and no like young adults would want to come back and live in Carmel. And so they started building apartments and more trendy things to bring the young adult population back.
Yeah. Okay, in 2019, Cake Bake came to Carmel, which is one of my favorites. I grew up like the amount of pictures of me and my friends in middle school going to the Cake Bake, which was in Broad Ripple. That's where it originally opened, which is like a little section of Indianapolis. So that's where it originated, out of this tiny little cottage. And then in 2019, they opened up a much larger location in Carmel because it was gaining so much popularity. Like Oprah Winfrey has gone, and she's like rated it as her favorite cake shop and raves about it. And this place in Carmel is so cute. It's the perfect little place for a girls' night, a Mother's Day tea, any kind of special occasion. It's covered in like Christmas lights around the holidays, decked out in
Mm-hmm.
flowers when it gets warm out. And they actually just opened a location in Disney World as well, which is, I feel like, paints like the perfect picture in your mind of like what the vibe of this place is. Like it
It's
feels
very Disney
enchanted.
princess. Yes, yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
word to use. Enchanted. It's so cute and so pretty inside.
But
And the
not
cakes
only
are
is
delicious.
Yeah, I was gonna say not only is it like great for the aesthetic, but the cake is so great. So
And they're
yeah.
huge. They come on huge plates. So, yeah. You can go there and pretty much just eat cake. You don't even need regular food.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually had the food there.
And then in 2020, Carmel opened its first luxury hotel. So before that, you were just staying at the run-of-the-mill chains. But again, Carmel was trying to develop. They were trying to attract more big business opportunities and things like that. So they wanted this luxury place to put up these, high level, high rolling people. So they built, or Hotel Carmichael was opened. And this hotel is so elaborate. They went $18.5 million over budget. So I think that
I don't
took it
even
to
want to
like,
know what the total cost was.
I
That's
think it was like
horrible.
$58.5 million to build this
Oh
hotel.
my god.
Every single hotel room has a chandelier in it. And
Like
it's just,
why?
it's so bougie. It's so luxury. Like, I feel like this is what people think of when they're like, oh my gosh, that's so Carmel. But this just was built in 2020, okay? Carmel didn't even have this reputation of being like luxury and
Over
bougie
the top.
until,
Yeah.
yeah, until the past 5 years, honestly. So, yeah, so they wanted business and leisure travels to have a place to stay that accurately reflected what Carmel was trying to become. So that's why they built this Hotel Carmichael. It has Feinstein's, which is a luxury speakeasy type bar with live piano and entertainment. Super cool. They have Vivante, which is an on-site restaurant for breakfast, lunch, dinner. And a lot of people in Carmel thought that the hotel in general was a risky investment, but it's booked full almost every single weekend. They have weddings on site, which the weddings there look so gorgeous.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
The people come into town and stay for the Christkindl Market, concerts. It's right across from the Palladium area for the Performing Arts Center, which is also where the Farmers Market and the Christkindl Market are. It's right on the Monon Trail. It's the perfect location. So tourist events, everybody that's now starting to come to Carmel, they have this great place to stay. So Hallie and I and our mom like
Oh, no.
wandered through it when we were just curious. We are like, we have to see what's inside
Well,
here.
this is what we mean by like we come back home and we're literally tourists of our own hometown because it
Right.
has changed so much. So like when they built this hotel, we were like, "Oh, let's go explore the Hotel Carmichael because like we never been." And so yeah, so we're giving ourselves like our own personal tour. Like we're just like walking around and snooping, like being annoying.
We run into this guy, this worker at the hotel, and he like sees us at one part of the hotel, and then we're wandering through, and we see him again at another part of the hotel. So he's like, do you want me to give you guys a tour? And
Because he
we're
can
like,
clearly tell that we're like weirdly wandering around, like trying to snoop.
yeah. So we're like, oh yeah, like what should we see? And he's like, well, have you seen, oh, did you go see the piano bar? And we're like, yeah, we've already seen it. He's like, have you gone to see the wedding reception spots? We're like, yep, we've seen it. He's like, okay, have you seen the restaurant? Yep, we've seen. He's like, okay, well, it looks like you guys have made your way around through the hotel already. So he ended
Looks
up
like you've
not really
snooped
giving us a
around and seen
tour.
everything.
But moral of that story is the staff there is super nice. He was very friendly. So
Yeah.
it's gorgeous. It's worth, even I know friends that live in Carmel or in the surrounding areas and have done the staycation there and just stayed there, booked a night there just for fun to be kind of like a tourist in your own town. Because it's, again, it'd be good for like a little luxury girls weekend or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, now it's time for my favorite part of the podcast where I get to talk about our library. Which, if Pearson's listening to this, I know he's laughing because the first time I ever brought him to Carmel, this was literally the first thing I took him to see was our library. And he like
Oh,
thought I was psycho.
yeah. I took people to the library before it is what it is now. Like I thought it was cool back then, and it's way cooler now.
Yeah, so it just got updated in 2022. I'll give you the stats, even though like if I heard this would mean nothing to me, but it's 132,000 square feet, which like I don't know if there's a building that we can like use in comparison to that, so you have like an idea, but it's gigantic. There's 2 stories. There's a Java House coffee shop in the lobby. There's a digital lab with 3D printing and all kinds of technology that like I am overwhelmed by. So I'm sure there's like even more there that I don't even know about.
Mm-hmm.
There's a discovery room for kids, private study rooms, conference rooms, locker systems for hold pickups. There's also a delivery system for people that might not be able to get to the library. Like if you have a disability or just are unable to get out of your house for some reason, they will literally deliver your books to you. So just honestly, super accommodating. It's crazy like the amount of resources. It's a perfect place for kids to go. It's also right across the street from the high school. So I know like a lot of people will go to the library after school if they like don't have anyone at home until like after 5 p.m. If their parents are working, they'll like go and hang out at the library. So it's honestly just like a really good community spot for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does seem more like a community center than a library. It just has so much to offer there. And I
Yeah.
mean, it's the way they redid it now, there's so many windows. It gets such good light. I'm just thinking of the college or the library at my college at Michigan State School Library. It's so dark. There's no
That's
windows.
how
It
I
just
use
makes
his
you,
too.
yeah, it
It's
makes
so
you depressed
depressing.
walking in there. But this
Yeah.
library, you walk in, there's so much windows. You smell the coffee from the coffee shop, and it's perfect. It's amazing.
I've like talked about this because I'm about to graduate from IU and go to grad school and I'm going to be living at home and it's going to be such a grind and I'm like probably going to be depressed. But the one thing that I'm excited about is being able to study in that library, which I know
Honestly.
that makes me sound like such a nerd, but like I don't even care. I literally am so happy when I go there.
Yeah, you guys just wouldn't understand unless you saw it and you walked through it. I don't know. Maybe we just are a little
No,
bit.
we definitely are just like really dramatic and we like try to romanticize everything. But like honestly, if that's like how you can if I am like such a strong believer in romanticizing your life, like make it seem like it's better than it actually is. Like do anything to convince yourself that like your life is amazing. So that's just like what we're
Absolutely.
trying to do.
Yeah. No, I love that. But yeah, so that was in 2022, and all those things that we just mentioned that had been slowly kind of being added to the city in 2022 with that updated library, that's when the awards for Carmel really took off. So in 2022, Carmel was awarded the number one best place to live in Indiana, the number one best place to raise a family in Indiana, number one place with the best public schools in Indiana, the number one best place to retire in the entire United States, and the number one most caring city in Indiana. And when I originally read this stat to Hallie, she thought I said the number one most Karen city in Indiana, which
And I literally
honestly,
was like, I didn't bat an eye. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, it's full of Karens. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be shocked. I'm like, how did they measure that?
no, yeah, the caring aspect was a little bit more surprising than a Karen city,
Yeah,
but
no, actually.
and then in 2023, Carmel got rated the number one best small city in America, the number one most affordable and safe suburb, and again, the number one best place to live in Indiana. And then, like I said at the top of the episode, in 2024, it was rated the number one best suburb to live in America, and then the number two best place to live in America in general, behind that small town in Arlington, Virginia. So 2025 is our year. Let's be the best place to live in America.
Oh my gosh. If people are like from Indiana, not from Carmel, and are like hearing us say this, they're probably gonna be like, this is exactly why I hate people from Carmel.
I
They
know,
just
but
love
that's the
to brag
thing.
about their town.
No, but people who have, I feel like Carmel is getting less hate. As we get older, people are
It's
realizing
not.
that it's,
It's not. It's absolutely not,
but
Kelsey.
the only people that really hate it, they just hate the school that it's so successful. They don't hate the place of Carmel. They have to admit the city of Carmel is amazing. It has so much to offer.
Yeah, but it's also just so over the top. Like, I honestly get it. Like, I feel like if I didn't grow up in Carmel and I saw it, I would be like, what the heck is this, like, utopian society? Like,
No, for
everything is
sure.
just so, like, pristine and clean and perfect and over the top that it's like, if you're not used to that, like, I could see how it would, like, literally make you uncomfortable.
It is very, I had someone mention on the Instagram thing that I put out that it's very constructed. And I thought that was a good way to put it, where it's very constructed and it seems fake. Like Hallie mentioned, like it's the
Yeah.
most utopian type city I've ever been in. And you don't, growing up there, it might not be the best. If you grow up in Carmel and never leave Carmel, you think that's normal. You think that the way people live and the way the city runs is just a normal thing. And then you're so thrown for a loop when you go somewhere else and realize none of the rest of the country lives like this. And so, yeah, it's not, I don't know that that's the best to grow up in a place like that. I think it obviously has so many perks, and we'll talk about that. But I think that also just highlights the importance of getting out, no matter where you grow up. Because wherever you grow up, and we've talked about this before, however you grow up, wherever you grow up, that's what you think is normal. And so it's important to get out and see how other people live, how other cities function.
It's a
You just get
bubble for
biased
sure.
if that's, yeah, if that's the only thing you've ever known.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into more specifically talking about the high school because we've kind of raved about it already and how it's gotten a lot of attention. So we'll kind of dive into this category a little bit.
So the first Carmel High School building was opened in 1888, but the present day Carmel High School that is there today didn't open until 1958. It sits on 55 acres of land, but there's 22 acres of building, which is 1 million square feet. So it is big, but when you look at it from the outside, I think it looks pretty much like a normal high school. It's got a lot inside, but honestly, the thing that makes it seem so big is when you see it with all the students inside.
Yeah.
There are 5,300, more than 5,300 students that go to school there. Like, to put it in perspective, you have 10-minute passing periods to get from one class to another, which I feel like is really long. I've never met somebody else from a different high school who's had 10 minutes to get from class to class.
But it's
And
still not enough.
it's not enough. If you have to go to your locker or go to the bathroom, like, you will be probably late for your class,
Yeah.
let alone if you have to do both. It's not even because of this, like getting from one end of the school to the other takes more than 10 minutes. It's that it's so overcrowded. You're packed, the passing periods, you are packed in like sardines. It
Yeah.
takes so long. And I'm so small, and we had to carry our backpacks between class to class because you don't have time to go to your locker. So you have to carry all your books. I would have like my cross country stuff, my lunchbox, like everything, because I would never go to my locker in between classes because I didn't have time. I'm getting
Yeah.
like bumped around, like my water bottle's flinging out of my backpack. Like it is insane.
Yeah.
And this isn't like, I mean, it's crazy. They don't even have enough lockers for everybody. You have to share lockers, and
They also
the
don't have enough classrooms for all the teachers. So, like, and I don't think it was as much like this when you were there, Kelsey, but especially by my senior year, teachers had to put all their stuff on carts and they would move from room to room because every teacher has a prep period, but they couldn't afford to like leave those classrooms empty during prep periods. They needed like space for more classes. And so teachers would have to move from classroom to classroom to be able to like get to that. So not only are you dealing with over 5,300 students moving from class to class, but now you also have teachers that are like pushing all their stuff through the hallways. It is seriously like it's the most chaotic thing. And I have like pictures to prove it of just like the sheer amount of people. And like you can't even see the ground because it's just covered by students.
it's insane. There's no parking on site for students. So any students that drive to school have to park a half mile away at the bottom of what we call the trail. And it's an uphill walk from the parking lot, almost a half mile up to the school. You have to do that every day. And it was big news my senior year of high school. The trail flooded, so we couldn't walk up the trail.
Oh
And
my
so we got
gosh.
shuttled up in buses to the front of the school. And it was the best day ever because we didn't have to walk up the trail. We got to miss the whole first period because it took so long.
Oh my
And that was like
gosh.
big news in Carmel. The news crews were there, like interviewing students. How does it feel to not be able to walk up your trail after, I don't know. It was
Because
just
that's
like,
like literally the most interesting thing that happens on a daily
exactly. There's,
basis. And
like we said, there's hardly any crime. It's really safe. Everything's pretty vanilla. So that was big news. But yeah, I mean, this just goes back to what I said earlier about it's so overcrowded, but Carmel has said they will not open another high school. They're lucky that enough students choose to go to private schools or other schools in the area, because
yeah.
if actually all the students that lived in the city of Carmel went to the public high school, they wouldn't have a choice. They would have
Yeah.
to open another
Or just
high
like make
school.
it 5 floors or something.
Yeah, I don't know
They'd
what
have to
they
build
do.
up.
But okay, so should we go into, obviously it has more than just being big in square footage and the amount of students that go there, just the amount of things that are in the high school. This is what was showcased in those TikToks that went viral. And I wasn't even sure if we were going to talk about these TikToks, but when I came across the Carmel High School Wikipedia page, it literally had a section on it called viral TikTok, and it said 34 million people have viewed these TikToks. So I feel like it's worth mentioning because it got a lot of hate. A lot of people were like, I can't
This is
believe
why we
one
hate
school,
Carmel.
yeah, and that like
It,
one school
yeah.
system is getting all this funding and able to have all these opportunities when the other school systems aren't. So we definitely need to address it. So Hallie, do you want to play the TikTok?
Okay, I have it pulled up and I just need to make a note that the comments have now been turned off because people were getting heated in the comment
Yeah.
section. So we'll let you listen to it and maybe you'll understand why.
Welcome to Carmel High School.
Join us on a tour.
This is the auditorium.
This is the Commons.
This is the catwalk. This is the planetarium.
This is Senior Hallway. This is our Carmel High School Library.
This is the Oz hallway. This is the Carmel Cafe and Market. This is the back of the Carmel Cafe.
And this is our Carmel Cafe where we have Teddy.
And this is the Carmel Varsity Gym.
This is the new addition to the Hall of Fame. This is the freshman gym. This is the weight room.
This is the wrestling room, baby.
This is the blue and gold gym. This is the blue and gold track.
This is the field house.
This is the varsity tunnel.
This is part of our wall of success.
This is our natatorium. This is the hallway of fame. This is our 3-story freshman center.
This is CHTV.
This is our live radio.
This is the yearbook room.
This is the auto shop.
This is the wood shop.
Man cafeteria.
This is the bookstore.
This is one of the many cooking rooms of Carmel.
And this is the Decker room.
Okay. That, I feel like you need to see it in order to get the whole picture, and a lot of it's kind of hard to understand if you don't like have the picture in front of you.
We'll put the actual TikTok on the YouTube. But yeah, I know the audio is kind of hard to hear. So if you're listening just on the audio podcast, I mean, basically there's 3 cafeterias. There's a full-size Olympic pool.
And they're building a second one right
now.
They're
building another pool. There's 3 or 4 gyms. There's an auto shop. They build a whole entire home within
the wood
Carmel
shop.
High School in the wood shop, and they send that out into the city of Carmel. And there's a whole part 2 to the TikTok that
highlights performing arts
but
and the more of like the art rooms and all of the resources there. So basically, these TikToks went viral, obviously, because there's a lot of people that went to public high schools that didn't look like that. And it created a really interesting conversation about differences between public schools in the US and how can you get a free education that looks like that compared to some of the high schools in inner city Indianapolis that don't even have running water or air conditioning or heating. And so, which is a completely valid conversation that 100% needs to be had. And so while it's like wasn't great to see like all the hate that Carmel was getting, I was like, no, I fully support this because this is ridiculous. Like, how is it possible to have such big differences within the public school system in the US?
Yeah, and I don't have a good solution or a good explanation for it. So I
wish the comments were still up because it was really interesting. A lot of people were saying, like, how does one school district have so much more funding, and how like Carmel teachers aren't even paid very well compared to school districts in the rest of the state, and yet you have all those resources in the school. And I remember like reading up on it and doing a lot of research about how the city of Carmel like delegates their tax funds differently into education, and how like we actually put a way lower percentage, like we pay a way lower percentage per student to fund the school than like a lot of other school systems do. And I would need to do a lot more research on like why that is and exactly the reasoning behind it,
and how that still equates to what it is, what the school is today.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that know a lot more about public school funding than we do, but that is one of the reasons why it gained so much traction, is because it kind of started this entire conversation about public school systems. So yeah. That was kind of crazy to see.
So while we are definitely, we still have a little bit more to talk about the high school, and you know, both of us are very thankful for the opportunity that we had of going there, and it's really created a lot of traits that we have today growing up and going to school in such a competitive, high achieving, high standard environment like Carmel High School. The benefits definitely outweighed the cons in that situation. However, we are not trying to overlook the fact that we know this is kind of a sticky, or just kind of like a hot topic, of that the majority of the schools are not like this, and most people don't have opportunities like this. So, but we do want to kind of showcase Carmel High School is a great school. And so we do want to be able to kind of shed a light on that and share that. And yeah, we're not trying to be ignorant to the other facts on the other side of things.
Right.
Another thing that the TikTok mentioned, and then we talked about, so there's a full-size Olympic pool and they're building a whole nother natatorium or another pool. So this high school is going to have 2 full-size Olympic pools. And
which is just like crazy.
It is wild. But another reason that some people might know of Carmel, if you've never lived in Indiana even, is because of the Carmel swim team. So the women's high school swim team has the state record of the number of consecutive state championships they've
National
won.
record.
National record. Yeah, national record for the number of straight state championships they've won for a women's team. And they've won 38 straight state championships. So yes, that is why a lot of people hate Carmel, because Carmel swim team is the most dominant of the high school teams, or is the most dominant of Carmel's sports teams. But overall, Carmel High School has 171 state championships, which is the most of any school, and they've have the record for the number of state championships in a single year, which is 7, and that's been done 5 times. So the athletic teams win a lot, and so that's why a lot of people hate Carmel. Like I said, nobody loves the team that wins all the time, but the women's swim team is just dominant. I mean, it's so impressive. This year they beat second place by over 200 points. So it's like
not even close. Yeah.
Not even close.
And it's been 38 straight years.
38 straight years of them winning. So it's just, I mean, that's insane. But that's why they're getting their own separate pool, because the Carmel High School uses the pool for community swim practice and community swim lessons and things like that.
And the club swim and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, but the high school team needs their own pool, which, I mean, I guess is valid. If you're training at a level to win 38 years in a row and just dominate, then maybe you deserve your own pool.
Yeah, I mean, they've also had 2 recent Olympians.
Mm-hmm.
They have a whole wall of where everyone goes to swim Division 1. It's like kind of the standard. Like if you go through that program, you're pretty much guaranteed an offer to swim D1. So there are people that literally like I know of people that moved from California to swim at Carmel because they knew that it would like make them better. So it's just like I don't know. It's so random to me because it's like nobody would expect this town in Indiana to like be this powerhouse, but when you have a school of 5,300 students, I guess it's easier to make it happen. But yeah,
but they are also, I mean, I always try to stick up for this argument because we get that a lot, is you're only so good because you have that many students and you're getting good coaching staff and the resources, which yes, I know that plays a big 100%. Role.
Yeah.
However, speaking from just witnessing and having friends that were on the swim team, these people are swimming all the time. They basically live in the water. So
yeah. I mean, you can spend as much money as you want. You're not going to be the best you are at your sport unless you're putting in the work. Like money can only take you so far.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, not only are the athletics a pretty big deal at Carmel, but also their performing arts is really well known. The choir department, which is what I was involved in all 4 years, was such an amazing experience. It was made up of over 500 students. So if you do the math, that's like over 10% of the student body is involved in choir, which that is just crazy to me. I mean, you don't hear stats like that like anywhere else. I mean, choir is like not known to be that cool of a thing to be a part of. So like the fact that 10% of a school that large wants to be a part of it is like,
and it's competitive.
A testament to how great it is. Yeah, you have to audition.
Not everybody makes it.
There's 10 different choirs. One of the highlights of being in choir is that they do a huge holiday production every year. It's 5 shows. Every show sells out, and it's honestly like a big part of the community. Like it's very well known around the city of Carmel. It's a big like holiday tradition that a lot of families go to. So just like having that kind of experience in high school of like a 5-show production, performing in front of that many people for a high school, like that is not very common of an experience to get. So that was awesome. They also have 4 competing show choirs, and a lot of people don't know what show choir is. It's kind of a Midwest thing, and also in California and pretty much anywhere else in the country you've probably not heard of it. So the best way I can compare it is Glee, if you've seen it. it's basically Glee Club. It's singing and dancing. You basically put on a show. But a fun fact is that if you've seen the show Glee, you'll know that the rival enemy high school is Carmel High School. And that is based off of Carmel High School. So we're, painted in this picture to be the bad guys that have all the resources and all the money. And it was written by a guy from Fishers, which is the town next to Carmel, kind of like our rival town, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just funny that he wrote this TV show, which obviously became incredibly famous, and didn't even try to like change the name or hide it at all. He was like, no, we're making Carmel the bad guys. Yeah. And it's just funny. I like started rewatching the show to like see, because I just like haven't watched it in a while. And when we were doing this episode, I like thought of it and I was like, oh, I like kind of want to rewatch the first season. And literally in one of the episodes, like the Carmel choir director buys each of the students a Range Rover with the Carmel booster money, which I just thought that was so funny. I'm like, honestly, yeah, that like is definitely how people see Carmel. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a fun little fact about the choir department.
The
Also,
show choir is
marching
so
band.
cool. No, wait, yeah. Hallie, I feel like didn't give enough credit where credit's due, because the show choir, she was in these competing show choirs, so they'd travel around the country doing these show choir competitions. They were so intense. The quality, and this is not even just Carmel. I mean, Carmel was very good, but Carmel didn't sweep every year. I mean, there's competitive show choirs.
Indianapolis, like the schools around Indianapolis are known to be like some of the best show choirs in the country, and they're all concentrated around the Indy area. And so, yeah, these like competitions, guys, are intense. Like it is a big deal. I mean, we practiced 3 hours after school twice a week all year. We had retreats over the summer where we'd be gone an entire week to learn the choreo, and like this isn't just like your in-class activity. Like this is taken extremely seriously. So I know to the outsider, it like doesn't make sense, and you're probably like, what? Like I don't get it. But like at Carmel, it was a big deal. So
it was so fun. I loved going and watching. I like bawled my eyes out at your last show your junior year, and then her senior year got cut short because of COVID, and so we didn't even know it was the last one when it was. But yeah. So maybe we should pull out some old pictures from your show choir days.
I was just going through because
on the YouTube.
Oh my gosh, no. So one of my roommates' boyfriends like was over at her house the other day, and I had Glee on, and he was like hating on it. He's like, I can't believe you're watching Glee. Like the show is so stupid. And my roommate was like, no, like that's what she did in high school. Like she was in Glee. And he was like, no, you weren't. Like you're literally lying to me. Like he did not believe that I was in choir. I don't know. Like, just because like I feel like at most schools it has like this different reputation of like what you're like if you're in performing arts. I don't know, but yeah, so then he like made me pull out the pictures, and he was like, this is so weird. Like, what is this? I was like, yeah, you just don't get it. Like,
so I was going to talk about this later, but I feel like this now is a good time to mention it. That, like Hallie was saying, in most schools, being the choir kid or being like a theater kid is not cool. And so basically, let me run through these other things we were going to talk about. Basically, the marching band is stellar. They've won 6 national championships. They were 26-time national finalists. And then Carmel High School also has the Greyhound Media Network, which they have their own TV station, own radio station. The yearbook and the school newspaper are all completely run by students, and all of these have won national awards. And basically, everything is top tier. And if you are a part of choir, if you are an athlete, if you are in the marching band, if you're on the Greyhound Media Network team, it's cool because you're successful and they're good. And so that was a huge benefit of going to a school like Carmel, is you didn't feel like a weird kid. It was big enough that you could find your group and you would find where you could fit in. And then there was mutual respect among everybody. There weren't like the jocks that were like making fun of like the nerds, because the nerds are doing like DECA,
are literally going to Harvard and getting into Ivy League. So it's like you can't even hate on them, because it's like, damn, like, yeah, you're going places.
Exactly. So no matter what you did, it was like Carmel knew how to do it well. And so it was like, I don't know, that I felt like it allowed us to understand and have mutual respect for no matter what you did, you worked hard at it. And there was just that created a good culture, supportive culture of the high school. I felt like that it
For
had.
sure. Well, and it's like everything was so competitive. So it's like even like gaining a spot to like work on the yearbook staff. It's like everyone knows like that's hard to get. Like even
Mm-hmm.
if you don't get yearbook and you don't think it's cool, like if you like see your friend or like hear about somebody that's like editor in chief of the yearbook, like you're like, dang, like I know they had to work hard to get that because
Right.
there were probably 500 other students that were trying to get that same position. And so it's just like, yeah, you even if you don't even like really get what it is, you just have to respect it because you know that like everybody has to work hard to like get the top spot in a school that big. I will say though, and I'll be curious what you think about this too, Kelsey, like I was stressed out all the time in high school. Like I was so busy, I was involved in so much, and like everything like you said is at like the top tier. So like
Mm-hmm.
even doing like 2 sports a year is intense. Like you hear like some people say like, oh yeah, like I did soccer and track and tennis and softball and basketball at my school. It's like you
And I
could
was
not
on
do
the
that.
newspaper and the choir and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah.
It's like if
yeah.
you were involved in something, it was intense and it was stressful and it was competitive. And like when I left high school to go to college, like I was way less stressed out. I had way more time in my day, which is like so not the norm. I feel like for most
Mm-hmm.
people is like the transition from high school to college is supposed to be like more intense. And for me, it felt way less intense, which is just like so backwards looking back on it. I'm like, I don't know how I lived the life that I lived in high school because I was just stressed out all the time.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree 100% with what you're saying. And that has its pros and cons, obviously. That can be bad for people who like crack under pressure and who couldn't handle that, obviously. But then on the flip
Mm-hmm.
side, it does prep you well for college. I mean, we were more than prepped. Like we went
Like
to
too
Big Ten
prepared.
schools,
Yeah.
so academically they're not known to be that difficult, but it was like a walk in the park compared to what Carmel was. I mean, Carmel
Yeah.
offers like 38 AP classes, and the average ACT score is like a 30. Like it preps you well. It creates good students, good study habits. It forces you to, because like Hallie said, when you did sports or you did extracurriculars, it wasn't just like a 1 hour a week commitment. Your whole evenings were dedicated to your
Right.
sport, your activity, homework, and you were done. So yeah,
Okay.
let's move into next.
We're going back to roundabouts, guys. I know you're
If you didn't hear us talk about roundabouts enough at the beginning, we were like holding back.
like
So
now we can really go crazy because we can talk about the fact that not only are there like 100,000 roundabouts, oh just kidding, there's over 150, which is like Kelsey said, most in the US.
we're about to max out and there's going to be no more stoplights left. Every intersection is going to be a roundabout. So obviously
So
roundabouts are just more efficient getting from place to place because you don't have to stop at stoplights, but also there's like safety and environmental benefits too that Hallie will talk about.
yeah, so the number of injuries and accidents reduced by 80% because of the installation of roundabouts. We're like so geeking out about this, but this is important because also 272 tanker trucks of fuel are saved per year because we switched the town from stoplights to roundabouts. So, since that, I mean, environmental issues is like such a hot topic politically and like a normal conversation. Like this is such an easy way to like make a difference in the environment, and it's better for everyone because you can also get places quicker. There's less idling for your cars, less gas being burned into the atmosphere, so you'll save money on gas because you won't be idling as much. So
Mm-hmm.
your gas tank will last you longer. And there's also no traffic lights to install or maintain. Also less texting and driving because you're not going to be like stopping at a stoplight for that long. Your traffic's going to be pretty consistently moving.
Yeah, I always say that when I'm in Carmel, when I get in my car, I don't stop driving ever until I get to my destination. And so there's no time. I mean, I feel like anywhere else, you stop at a stoplight pull out your phone, respond to your text. Oh, the light turns green. Let me just finish my text real quick. Like there's none of that in Carmel. So I feel like
Right.
that contributed to less like injury accidents. It forces you to slow down through intersections so you don't have to worry about like running a red light and slamming into another car or something. And it's the answer for everything.
We love roundabouts. They also like literally sell roundabout t-shirts in Carmel. Like that's how we're not like the only ones that are literally obsessed with roundabouts. Like it's just like a thing. Another thing that Carmel's known for is Bub's Burgers, which we actually just had this weekend and it was so fire. Basically, there's one thing that they're known for and it's called the Big Ugly. So basically it's a 1-pound burger patty and it was featured on Man vs. Food. It's like a big deal. If you like are able to eat the whole thing, you get your photo on the wall in the restaurant. So it's like pretty
Except
difficult
that
to do.
no, but so many people were able to eat one because we're in the Midwest and people are fat.
People love to eat.
That now you have to eat 2 Big Uglies to get
To
your
get it
photo
on the wall?
Yes. And
I
you
did
have to
not
eat
know
the
that.
entire thing, the bun, the lettuce, tomato, pickle, onion, everything. So
Oh
yeah, you have
my
to eat 2 to get
gosh.
your picture on the wall now.
Yeah, okay, but so on when the guy from Man vs. Food came, his challenge was to eat 5 in one sitting and he could only eat 4, so he like failed his challenge.
I'm at Bub's Burgers and Ice Cream just outside of Indianapolis to attempt the Big Ugly Burger Challenge. Finished one 1.5-pound burger and I get my picture on the wall of fame. But it doesn't have to end there. 2 burgers, I get a headshot. 3 burgers, I get a poster on the wall. And 4 burgers gets me a life-size cutout. Today, I'm here to make Hoosier history. So anything less than 4 Big Uglies is a loss.
But one person has been able to eat 5 recently. It was like, I think it was in 2022, and it took him 7 hours. I'm like, that sounds disgusting that you're
So that's
sitting
just
there and
basically
eating
what he
burger
ate
for 7
breakfast,
hours.
lunch, and dinner. So
Yeah. I mean, that's 5 pounds of burger, and then I'm pretty sure the bread is another like 2.5 pounds total. So that's like 7 pounds of just burger.
yeah, but it's not like Bub's Burger, this burger shop. It's not like a gimmicky thing that you just go there if you're eating the Big Ugly. It's, again, this sits right on the Monon Trail that we talked about, and it's just a classic burger joint. It's been there forever. Before it was one of the first restaurants that before Carmel started getting all built up, Bub's was there, and it's a very Carmel thing. They have ice cream in the summer, and it's just a fun little atmosphere there. So the food is good. It's just like a solid burger, fries, and ice cream type of place. It's nothing special, but yeah, you won't be disappointed to just get like a homey little feel there.
Yeah. Okay, the last thing we're kind of going to talk about, we're going to start to wrap this up because we've been rambling for a really long time. But
there's a lot to say about Carmel, okay?
There's just so much to say. We have 22 and 28 years of life there. So one thing that Carmel definitely gets a lot of hate on is its lack of diversity. It is 70% white is the last stat that I saw, which obviously is not very diverse, but also you have to take into consideration that it's a town in Indiana, which is also one of the least diverse states in the country. So we don't have a lot to work with. One thing that I do want to point out, though, is that 13% of Carmel residents currently were born outside of the U.S. compared to 3.2% of the rest of the state population is born outside of the U.S. So in terms of the state's demographic, we do get slightly more diversity compared to the rest of the state, just because there's a lot of job opportunities that are attracting people to Carmel specifically, and just like the quality of living is obviously attractive to a lot of people. So there is a little bit of a draw for that, but I do know that I have like multiple friends that come from different ethnic backgrounds, and they did mention that as like it was difficult growing up in a town where you feel like you do stand out so much. And obviously we can't attest to that or like comment on that. We have no experience in that. So that is like definitely a topic of conversation. And like I've had a lot of conversations with my friends about that, just like picking their brains about like what that was like, and just like how it took them a lot longer to kind of like be confident in who they were and like find their own self-worth just like growing up in a town where you feel like you stand out so much. So that is also definitely something that is talked about a lot in terms of, yeah, it's a great place, but not very diverse. So we definitely wanted to touch on that as well.
Yeah, I think that's where, we talk about how it's a great place to raise a family and to grow up in, but I think that's just super important to recognize where it's lacking in diversity and that it is this little bubble that we talked about. And so just the importance of, if you're raising your family in Carmel, to make sure they're having these well-rounded experiences and going to see how other places are. Obviously, the benefits of living in Carmel with the schools and the opportunities are great, but yeah, it's also, there's so many good life skills that are important to learn, that of just basically seeing how the rest of the world is and not thinking that what you see in your little bubble is normal.
Right.
So,
and that goes for anywhere that you live. So
right. Yeah. True.
Okay, any closing thoughts that you have, Kels? I think we like literally covered every single aspect that we could, but
yeah, I love Carmel. I love going back to visit. Like when we were there this weekend for Hallie's Marathon, it was so fun to see what else they've, created and built up and everything like that. So
yeah.
But yeah, okay. So I think that's our Carmel episode. We have an exciting, our next week's episode is going to be super, super fun. Hallie's super excited about it.
I am coming up on my last few weeks at IU, so we thought it was only right to finish the season off with a Bloomington episode. So I'm super excited. I'm going to get some of my friends to record with me and share their experiences here, so it's not just my personal experience, because obviously everybody has a wide variety of experiences in college. So I'm going to try to cover all the bases, and I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be a really fun episode, and it'll be a good way to end season 1, which is crazy. But yeah,
we'll do one more episode after the Bloomington episode that'll just be kind of our closing thoughts, the true season finale for season 1, and then that'll be it for some time. We don't know how long, but we'll give you guys the update. The merch is still coming, so we'll have an update on that soon. And otherwise, you guys know what to do. Leave us a review, 5 stars.